The champions. Yes, my people. What can I say? Real Madrid versus Manchester City. This is a matchup that everybody's expecting. This is the biggest game in this year, or this is the biggest game in the world right now of soccer. And what's happening right now, football, as we say in the world, but United States say soccer. Both of them, soccer, football, however you say it, that is for you. But what we'll do is we'll talk a little bit about the show, about what I expect that is going to happen tomorrow between the starting 11, what I think is going to happen, who are the matchups that we have to watch. So you cannot miss this program. It's going to start right now, so stay tuned. It's just about to start. Let's go. Muy buena, mi gente, aquí nos encontramos nuevamente en otro programa de fútbol con Bambam.
Dentro del área, golpea Petit, Zidane y gol. Ha marcado Zidane el 1-0 para Francia.
Welcome everybody, and here we go. This is another show of futbolconbambam, and I want to thank you guys every time for weekends go and starting right here. And this is going to be the big matchup. This is the Giants. This is not even David against Goliath. This is actually Goliath versus Goliath, because Manchester City is the team of money. This is the team of the sheets. Is the team of the Giants pretty much economically. But then you go against the giant in history. These are the king of Europe. And if you want to win the Champions League, you have to defeat the best. And the best of the best in both sides is Real Madrid versus Manchester City. And we cannot miss this matchup. This is actually a rematch from last year, or this could be reiterate again, and Real Madrid with a victory would just say to Manchester City, I got your number once again. What are we expecting about this game? Well, first of all, I want to start showing you guys, this was actually the jersey that it was used here, the gold, as it up to be. Real Madrid, this is when they were facing this year against Manchester City. This is when Real Madrid was looking for number 14, and they got it. This year and tomorrow on the show, I will actually bring the jersey of the 14 looking for the 15. So it's going to be very interesting. But what we have to say today is, what are we expecting about this game? And what we start right now is both sides are starting to play the chess match. They're starting to add up and looking for, any edge mentally that they can actually come in. We saw how Pep Guardiola tried to play it off and giving all the praises and everything to Real Madrid, and it backfired him, because then it came out to be that Real Madrid actually did what Pep Guardiola was saying, and then Guardiola was saying, well, Guardiola is just planning and putting all the path as just an excuse in case they lose. Well, guess what? They did lose after dominating Real Madrid, because everybody last year had Manchester City being the favorite, actually coming in. Manchester City dominated both games. Let's just be straightforward with that. But Real Madrid just showed the capacity, how cold they are consistently on both sides. They went to Manchester, to the Etihad, and they were losing 2-0, and they chill, and they came back and lost that game 4-3. But then going to home, and in less than 10 minutes after Manchester City winning the game 1-0, in the minute 88 comes Real Madrid, does a change, and everything changes. And in less than 10 minutes, Real Madrid scores 3 goals, giving that, leaving Manchester City outside of the aspirations to win their first title in the Champions League. Now, what's different this year is that Manchester City just acquired a beast, the 50-goal scorer right now, which is making record as we speak right now from England, and it is Halaand. This is the Viking monster, the Viking cyber, whatever you want to call him. But he has changed everything. He has changed the formula in Manchester City. And he's even made Pep Guardiola change his style of playing and changing his supposedly DNA, be able to come in and just become now a counterattack a team, and a little bit more defensive side. Because one thing that Manchester City has proven today, or up to today, is that they can play better defense than they did last year. So what do we expect? They spend more than 1.4 billion euros or pounds, whatever you want to call it. It comes out to be that is expected to have a monster team. And this is why we're saying that this is a giant. This is not a humble team. This is not a team that it's coming in and is trying to make up players. No, it's picking the best of every squad, and it's putting it right now in the court and making it happen. And they're winning right now, and they have the possibility to make a big history of winning all 3 titles, which is the league, the FA Cup, and the Champions League. So what do we have to say right now? And the opposite side, we have to say that Real Madrid is coming back with being the current champions of Champions League, is coming back and is measuring again, once again, trying to achieve what they've done a couple years ago, which is a repeat of the Champions League, which we know that Real Madrid won it 3 years in a row with Zidane, but any other squad has never been able to repeat because it's difficult. And it's looking like every other year you're seeing Real Madrid winning this title, and that's something that is not normal. This is nothing normal about this, but this DNA, this slogan that Real Madrid has, that it says, until the end, Real Madrid will fight. It's been the slogan over and over and over again. And one of the things is, last year, Real Madrid actually took all the superpower and money teams and destroyed them and won the number 14. It's actually the best Champions League that Real Madrid did. About coming in and taking it back, falling behind, in and taking it over, just made it show. Now, in this year, even though against Liverpool, Madrid was falling 2-0 in that game 5-2, this has not been the chance this year. Real Madrid has won a little bit more comfortable this year, especially against Chelsea, who just the last they had. But what it is doing right now, it's just showing up. It's getting all the Premier League teams, and it's eliminating them one by one. This is actually the last Premier team that it has right now the opportunity to try to consolidate and brag a little bit more, saying we don't have only the best league in the world, but the best team right now in Europe, because that's what they're trying to play right now. So this game is bigger than what you think. It's the Spanish trying to come in and continue their dominance in Europe, because for the past 20 years, Spain has dominated the European League. But then it comes out to be that in the leagues of the clubs, it comes out to be that Premier League is starting to off with all the prizes in there. It's the strong right now. But what you cannot say is Real Madrid is right now saying that's okay. You have the best league. Our league, we're in the recover mode, but I want to keep sure that we will knock every outside. And that's what we're doing. So this is so incredible, because last year we saw, like I mentioned, they destroyed all the big club. Now this year is Real Madrid destroying Premier handily. So this game, this is actually a humongous game, and this is the one that every English, and you've seen it because you heard Wayne Rooney this week talking about, saying that Manchester City is in another level. When have you seen a Manchester United legacy or star coming in and praise City, which is their enemy? You never hear that. But this is, like I mentioned, this is bigger than itself. This is actually England versus Spain. This is Premier versus La Liga. This is actually bigger than what you imagine. And that's the hype. That's actually what's going on this time. But we have to see that Real Madrid is coming over with a big strength, a big mentality advantage. And it's that they've been here before. They locked down against pressure. Tame completely. It doesn't matter how much scores you do against them. It looks like they can come back. And if you just try hitting them, they can hit you harder. So we'll see if that can continue, because maybe this is the year where Haaland, the Manchester's can finally take that karma out and say, you know what? I'm the one who needs to win this championship. I'm the one to go out there and win this cup. So they're going to try to eliminate the giants, the champions, and the king of Europe, which right now Real Madrid has 14 championships. Manchester City has never won one. So that's a big stuff right now. And let's talk a little bit about the starting 11. And as you see on the screen, I'm bringing up the starting 11 that started against Arsenal. And this is very important what we're talking about, because Manchester City against Arsenal started with this lineup of Akanji instead of Apke. on the left on the right hand on the left hand side defensive back. And this reason is, as I said to you guys right now, they're playing mind games. Real Madrid started playing the mind game that Luka Modric was hurt, but then we saw him play the last 10 minutes of last game against Osasuna in the final of the Cup of Kings. Now, does that mean Real Madrid Luka Modric is 100%? We don't. But what we did see is that Luka Modric was able to go apparently to the doctor of miracle. This is a doctor who actually has a treatment with the evil of, or a placenta, whatever you want to call it, of a horse. And apparently this is called the doctor of miracles. This is the doctor who recovered in record time Djokovic on his sport for tennis, right? And this is the doctor who actually come in, and Luka Modric went to her to see if she can bring him back and speed record time. And right now it looks like it's working, because Luka Modric was able to play 10 minutes and you saw him put speed, sprint, and he was looking healthy. So would he be starting on this next match tomorrow? I don't know. I'm not putting him on my starting lineup, but then again, we'll talk about that a little bit later. But what Manchester City was doing is that they're playing mind games as well. They, for the last 2 weeks, they had Kevin De Bruyne apparently injured, but then Kevin De Bruyne played last game against Leeds, played the full game, looked amazing. Actually was one of the key players of that game with Gundogan. And then it comes out to be that they just come in, and you saw Ake play that game. Ake played that game completely, but then practicing today due to muscle fatigue. That's what they're claiming, or muscle injury. 9 games. However, we will see how that goes on. So having that said, let's go with the lineup. And the lineup says Ederson as the goalkeeper. Kyle Walker, it's going to be in the defense. Ruben Diaz, John Stone, and Manuel Akanji will be playing if Ake does not play. And then in the mid contention, you have Rodrygo, and you have Gundogan. And then the midfield, you will have Bernardo Silva, Kevin De Bruyne, Jack Grealish, and then of course, in the forward, you will have Erling Haaland. Now let's talk about Real Madrid. Real Madrid, we know right now that Militao and Chelsea had this yellow card, which actually gives him a penalty of not able. He's gonna have to miss 1 game, and this is the away game. So not having Militao in here, it's very tough, because you know Militao is one of the ranks of the top 5 center backs right now in the world. And against Erling Haaland, you need the best. You need the best, because this guy's a cyborg. This guy's a beast. So Rudiger has a big task to fill up in here. So we'll see how that goes. But let's talk a little bit about the starting 11, and then we'll talk about the one-on-ones going on. And we'll start as a goalkeeper. You have Dani Carvajal on your right-hand side, on your right defensive side. You have in the center backs Antonio and David Alaba, and then you have Eduardo Camavinga as your left back. You know that Ancelotti needs that opportunity of a guy who can actually stop and be able to be strong in the defense, and that's Eduardo Camavinga has been showing that off right now. So I'm saying right now that I don't see Luka Modric playing. So who do I see playing in the midfield? I see Toni Kroos, Fede Valverde, and Tchouaméni. Aurelien Tchouaméni is actually going to be the muscle in the back of the mid contention. We know he has not been the best player or the best forward right now since the World, but he's still a key piece to be able to, if you want to stop the cyborg, if you want to stop that attention, that mid bleeding that the Manchester City does between Kevin De Bruyne, Bernardo Silva, and Erling Haaland, you're gonna need Tchouaméni being strong and taking possession when it needs to be able to help Rudiger and David Alaba in this war. So in the forward, you will have Vinicius, Rodrygo, and Benzema. That's not changing. Now let's talk a little bit about the matchups in here, because this is going to be very interesting. Instead of Akanji in the side of the right backside, and the reason for this is because the fastest guy that currently right now Guardiola has, and is the guy who could try to stop the speedster and the highly skilled guy as Vinicius, is Kyle Walker. Now, we have to recall the past year that Vinicius ran over Kyle Walker when Kyle Walker came inside. Yes, a lot of people coming in and say that Kyle Walker came 75%. Well, Kyle Walker has not had big opportunities this year. He's been playing on and off consistently with Manchester City. Akanji has taken his spot, but we know that Vinicius Jr. has been destroying every defensive back that you put against him. And yes, we say that at the beginning of the year, Araujo was stopping Vinicius, but then we saw when Vinicius actually put pressure on him, Vinicius annihilated completely and took over Araujo and made him his little son. And that every single defensive back has been suffering about Vinicius. We talk about, Alexander Arnold, Montoya. You saw him this last game. He was just going crazy. You saw against Chelsea that they just didn't know how to put a guy against him. They needed to put 3 guys and they still couldn't stop him. So Vinicius is a big headache right now, and it's a big concern for Guardiola in his head. And another guy is that if he's had an Achilles heel, is actually gone through Ake right now. And that's, you saw him against Bayern de Munich. That was the weak side. That's the side that the Bayern de Munich noticed, overloaded, and started a lot of opportunities through Ake's corner. And now one thing that I think it's going to happen is I think they're going to have Akanji in there, because now Akanji's not going to deal with a big speedster, but he's going to deal with a highly skilled player. And you've seen Akanji be able to withstand that. He'll be able to manage those type of players and been able to alleviate with them. However, we will see, because Rodrygo is another headache, but you don't have only Rodrygo on that side. You have Fede Valverde and you have Dani Carvajal to deal with. So that's going to be very important for Grealish to come back. And you definitely need between Rodri and Gundogan to be able to spread out the right way and assist both cornerbacks and be allowed Benzema to deal with Ruben Diaz and John Stone. But we've seen in the past that when they jump, I think Stone is going to be very busy with Walker and probably Gundogan dealing with Vinicius. But then again, you have to deal with a highly skilled dribbler, as it is with Waldo Camavinga also on that side. So it's going to be very interesting, these matchups. Now, let's see what Real Madrid needs to do. And one thing Real Madrid needs to do in order to win this match, he's going to have to press the offense. He's going to have to do what Bayern de Munich we're starting to do to Manchester City. And as when you saw Bayern de Munich putting pressure consistently, high pressure to Manchester City, taking possession of the ball, Manchester City sat back and defended itself, but they struggled a little bit. And of course, Bayern de Munich was not taking advantage of all the opportunities that they had, but we've seen that Benzema on his good day can actually just break everything and make it happen, because Benzema has more dribbling skills than any of the persons right now in Bayern de Munich. So it's going to be a highly skilled game right now, highly occupancy. You saw Vinicius a dribbler, Rodrygo's a dribbler, Vinicius a speedster, Benzema is a mastermind with the ball in his feet. So it's going to be very tough for that defense of Manchester City. Now, what Manchester City wants to do is dominate the midfield. They don't want to give back. And this is why, looking at the screen when you saw it, and you saw 3-2-4-1, that is actually the formation that Manchester City played against Arsenal this past game to be able to win comfortable against Arsenal. However, when you saw Manchester City versus Bayern de Munich, which is what I think that Guardiola is going to line up, is actually with a 4-2-3-1, which is the same thing that I think, if you're going to think what is similar, you're going to think that Real Madrid is pretty much a mirror of Bayern de Munich. They're a high potency attacking team. They're a high possession team also as well right now. They both lack a little bit on the defense right now. They're a bit slow on the defense, but that's something that Real Madrid is going to have to focus on. If Real Madrid wants to withstand the high pressure when it comes out to be in the high speed and the beast mode of Erling Haaland, Antonio Rudiger is going to have to step up. We know Antonio Rudiger, since he's been with Chelsea, he loves the one-on-one matches. He loves to play the high important games. He loves these matchups. And then the smartness of David Alaba is going to be another key aspect to be able to try to stand against Erling Haaland. You're going to need both masterminds in there. And then, of course, you're going to need Tchouaméni coming inside and try to cover that gaps that is going to be left once and Rudiger are trying to defend against Erling Haaland. Now, we've seen this duo of center backs doing this type of work against another huge striker, or against an important striker like Robert Lewandowski. We've seen how these two backs, when they join together, they have a great communication between each other. And because they use a lot their body, they start weakening that striker. It comes out to be that's going to be important about both of them trying to hit that hits, making and feel uncomfortable to be back there, and then they might neutralize that great threat about that. Now, the midfield is going to be very important because Kevin De Bruyne and Bernardo Silva has been two aces for Manchester City, feeding Erling Haaland these long passes that comes in and just Erling Haaland just breaks away. And Erling Haaland doesn't need to be in front of the goal to know where he's at. We've seen him already, and against Leeds, he did it. He received. All he needs to do is have a little bit of movement. Boom, he's striking inside because he knows exactly where he's standing in the field. And this is what makes him so lethal, because he hits it hard, both legs, and he's strong. But if you catch him in open field and he's going one-on-one, most likely you're going to lose against him. So, it's very important for these two players to be alert, watch their backs, watch these long feeds, and be prepared to anticipate on this. And then Courtois to not get desperate and to watch his ground. That's going to be very important. Key to be able to withstand Erling Haaland's attack. Now, what are we going to talk about Gundogan and Bernardo Silva and Kevin De Bruyne? It's going to be very important for Toni Kroos and Tchouaméni to be able to neutralize and not allow De Bruyne and Bernardo Silva to be able to mastermind and dominate that midfield. We've seen that one of the things that Bernardo Silva has been doing this game is he opens up the game a little bit in the midfield to the side, and then he turns up to be more in the center behind Kevin De Bruyne, and that just throws off everything on the midfield and on the defensive side for the opponent's team. So that's something very important. If you want to win the game, you're gonna have to do what you did to Chelsea. You stopped Enzo. You stop right now. You couldn't stop Keita, but then you stopped another big key player as Kovacic inside. So I'm not saying Kevin De Bruyne and Bernardo Silva are just like those players, but if you want to do these things, you're going to have to neutralize their key players in the midfield. And one thing Madrid did well last time was just doing that. One positive note right now that we've seen about Real Madrid is that for some reason, every time Kevin De Bruyne plays against Real Madrid, he doesn't tend to shine too much, because of the great work of the defense and on the midfield of Real Madrid. Now, this year has been one of the years that Kevin De Bruyne has had all the confidence and is not shied in the big games because he has that trust. And every time he's in trouble, he relies on the beast of Erling Haaland. So this is something that the strategy is going to be very interesting, and this is something that is going to be amazing about this game. Minding back that I got to say, the defense of both teams, if you put it back to compare each other, right now, the defense of Manchester City has looked better than Real Madrid's defense. However, one thing that is key is if both defense come very concentrated, it's going to be a so interesting game, and it's going to be a midfield game. So whoever dominates the midfield, whoever dominates the possession of the ball, I think is going to have the upper hand. Of course, this game being played in Bernabeu is going to have a special spark because the crowd is really going to come inside. They're going to be really apart. And you've seen the Manchester City, when they go on these away games, they tend to slack a little bit and get a little bit more defensive. If they do that against Real Madrid gets the confidence. Guess what? Real Madrid could score goals. And that could be a big trouble if Manchester City loses by a larger margin in this game. Now, if Manchester City is able to escape this game with a tie or margin like a 1-0, then that's a perfect score that they're looking for to go back to Etihad and Manchester City and try to take over with their home crowd. So one of the key importance about this game, Real Madrid needs to win this game. Real Madrid needs to win this game, and most likely win by multiple goals in order to have a little bit more buffer and try to bring those back to Manchester City to be able to see frightening and they scared about this game. And that way it gives that trust to Real Madrid to be able to go to Manchester and probably a little bit more concentrated and more comfortable to play against this game. Now, if they go with a really close margin, then it needs Real Madrid to be 200% concentrated every single game in order to pass this round and be able to fight another opportunity to go to another final against one of the Milans, because we don't know if it's going to be Inter or AC Milan. Right now, the pages are saying that the favorite are AC Milan. That happens, but game right now, everybody thinks whoever wins this matchup, it's the team that is expected to go to win the title. So we'll see. Spain versus England. This is a Giants game. This is going to be a biggest game. This is actually the game that everybody's looking for. So we are hyped. This is it, and let's go. I will continue to do shows about this, showing a little bit more analysis about this game, matchups, pre of this game. I hope you enjoyed this game. Give me your comment, give me your like, give me your subscribe, give me your share. We'll see how this happens, and let's keep it up and keep enjoying this game. Ciao.